All right, I'm not joking. I just landed at SFO 10 minutes ago. I have global entry, so I got through customs really fast. There was a long line, a ton of international planes in there. My friend Jack picked me up. He lives about 10 minutes from SFO. First stop after landing from Mexico City is live to talk about 49ers Saints. That is why you should follow the channel. And that's why I love you for following the channel. I wanted to get this in before prime time because I know that it's going to be a busy week with Thanksgiving, family, all this and all that. In fact, I have to go back to SFO in about 30 minutes to pick up Margot. So I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I wanted to squeeze one in because it's going to be tougher to talk proper football with a good audience over Thanksgiving here in a couple days. And the 49ers are dealing with a challenge because of this too. Short week. They got back in from Mexico City last night. I chose to stay the whole day today just to enjoy the city, but now it's 9 o'clock. I'm back. We have to be back at the facility tomorrow afternoon. There is no Tuesday off day this week because Tuesday was the travel day. And the game coming up is against the 4-7 Saints. So why don't we have a quick look at what the New Orleans Saints are all about? They just beat the Rams 27-20. Andy Dalton in the game against the Rams was really, really sharp. I mean, he was 21 of 25, high yards per attempt, hitting passes downfield. Chris Olave is really fast. He burned that Rams defense. They obviously have Alvin Kamara over there in New Orleans, and he's a player who, can be compared to Christian McCaffrey because he's an outlet man out of the backfield, has good hands, and obviously also runs the ball. He is New Orleans' leading rusher. So the Saints have some speed and dynamic capability, and we put Olave and Alvin Kamara at the top of that list. But at the end of the day, the Saints are 4-7 for a reason. That's because they're a mediocre team. The more I study the Saints, the more mediocrity I see. We have a DVOA down near the 20s. That's on both offense and defense. There's nothing that really stands out about this Saints team in a good way beyond the fact that they have a couple playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. But we already know who Andy Dalton is. And even though he is coming off a sharp performance, I don't think he's a quarterback that particularly scares the 49ers. The Saints also have a weakness in interior pass protection. Andrus Peat, one of the guards there for the Saints, has not been good in pass protection this season. From Ryan Ramczyk, their right tackle, he's given up the most pressures for the Saints, but he's also had the most opportunities. He's been healthy and in his spot at the right tackle position for most of this season. So I think that don't just look at raw pressure and sack numbers and be like, oh, this guy right tackle, the 49ers can beat him. Look at the averages, right? Look at the pressure rates. And the pressure rates that the Saints have given up have come up the middle. And the reason that I think this is a significant deal for the 49ers is because we keep on talking about, oh, when's the interior pass rush going to roar the life of the 49ers? I know Kevin Givens did some impressive stuff in Mexico City against Arizona. He's coming along. He's a top half pass rusher. He's really making up for the losses of Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw. But I think ultimately for the 49ers to fire on all cylinders, they need Armstead. They need Kinlaw back. Right. And we're going to find out if this is the week that they start trying to break them back into the lineup. Because guess what's looming right after the Saints? The Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a pair of really, really good offenses that are firing on all cylinders. 49ers, Dolphins, Shanahan, McDaniel, Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, Garoppolo playing well for the 49ers. I know I went over it with some of the videos earlier today, just how much we should be looking forward to a game of two similar styles, except the Dolphins do it with speed and the 49ers do it with yak monsters. Well, that's looming after this game, and I think the 49ers would really like some more defensive tackle firepower against Miami and that really high-powered offense. And if you want that, maybe to avoid the fate that you suffered against Kansas City when you returned a ton of guys against the Chiefs, but they weren't really ready to play, right, because they hadn't practiced, maybe you want to start to work players like Armstead and Kinlaw, if they're available to play, into this game against a more mediocre Saints team. So I'm going to be paying attention to that because the Saints interior pass protection hasn't been great. And to me, it marks a good potential opportunity for the 49ers to start working some of their defensive tackles back. But that obviously is a situation that is health permitting. Other side of the ball, the Saints have an unremarkable defense with injury questions. There are several players who are good players who the Saints may or may not have. That goes down to Marshawn Lattimore, the defensive back. It's Cameron Jordan, defensive end, second on sacks in this team. Those guys all have questionable designations unofficially to begin this week. But regardless of who plays and who doesn't, the Saints just haven't been good defensively. Number 15 pass DVOA defense, number 20 run DVOA defense. Again, this is a game of mediocrity on the opposing side for the 49ers. The 49ers are playing top-level football. We saw that against the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City. We've seen it now for a few weeks running. The Saints, they're 4-7 for a reason. They've really struggled to put together a complete game. That defense, yeah, guys like Cam Jordan have been around for a long time. But, I mean, yes, he has 5.5 sacks this year. But no, they're not getting overpowering production in a cohesive sense from that side of the ball. So there's a reason that the 49ers are favored by nearly 10 points. Last I checked, it was 9.5. But they do have a hurdle to overcome, and that is refocusing quickly on a short week. Kyle Shanahan already worried about this in the post-game press conference last night in Mexico City. Thanksgiving is this week. 49ers obviously don't have the Tuesday rest day. They traveled late on Monday night, early Tuesday morning from Mexico City. It's a quick turnaround, and they were gone all of last week in Colorado Springs. Historically, the 49ers have not done well in these returns from these week-long trips where they're training elsewhere. And this was quite the week-long trip because it was Colorado Springs in the cold altitude, then Mexico City, several hours from Colorado Springs in the altitude even higher than Colorado Springs, right? Before the late-night flight home on the short week. Mix in Thanksgiving, it's easy to see the 49ers potentially losing a little bit of an edge before a game in which they're heavily favored here against the Saints. I still remember the game against the Falcons in 2019 where the 49ers were favored by about 10 points, and they lost. And they were coming off of that New Orleans trip, right? The epic New Orleans win where they went Baltimore, New Orleans, stayed at the IMG Academy, sort of trained there in Bradenton, Florida, came back home, got upset by the Falcons. So if you're the 49ers, that is something that you're going to be trying to avoid this year. The Saints, though, if they are healthy, let's go back to some things they could potentially threaten the 49ers with. They have a decent pass rush, right? You look at Demario Davis, you look at Cam Jordan, they can get after the quarterback from the edges, number 9 in adjusted sack rate. Taysom Hill hasn't really gone off all too much this year except for the game against Seattle. He is a wild card. You have to account for him. And, you know, McCaffrey and Kamara are going to be on the same field. And I think that's just cool from a football fan's perspective, given how much Christian McCaffrey has helped the 49ers offense enter turbocharge mode. Finally, it's the Kentavious Street revenge game. Remember Kentavious Street? Well, he plays for the Saints, and he's been active all season long for the Saints. Only a sack and a half. Nice guy, but Kentavious Street's going to want his revenge against the 49ers. I'm only partially kidding. Yeah, I'm mostly kidding. We've already seen the Dante Pettis revenge game. We've seen Marquise Goodwin try to go for a revenge game. He'll have another chance with the Seahawks on December 15th. And we've seen the Jerick McKinnon revenge game. So why not the Kentavious Street revenge game in 49ers Saints? All right, let's pop this open on the screen. Let's visualize what this matchup will look like. Obviously, you have X-axis, Y-axis. X-axis is offense EPA per play. Y-axis is defense EPA per play. You want to be further up and to the right. 49ers are right here, tier 2. They're close to the Eagles. They're close to the Bills, Bengals, Cowboys. Look how average the Saints are. I mean, I talk about mediocrity. Saints are right here with the Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings have won a lot more games, but regression is probably coming for the Vikings, who just lost to the Cowboys 40-3. Saints right in average. A little bit below average in both offense and defense EPA per play. The 49ers are a firm 2 tiers above the Saints. So, again, I'll put this back up on the screen. There is a reason the 49ers are favored by nearly 10 points in this game. All right, hope you enjoyed the first look at the Saints. Let's go to some questions for you here as we build an audience on this Tuesday night. Have a little bit of time, so let's go through it all. How's everybody doing today or tonight? I just got off a flight from Mexico City. It took 4 hours and 9 minutes. They said it could take up to 5 hours, but they made it a little bit quicker. I got a cool time lapse when we took off in Mexico City. Had some good food there. You guys have been following along. I'm sure you've seen all the videos from this week. But it was time to get home because we've got business to take care of here with the 49ers starting practice back up again tomorrow for Saints Week. All right. Somebody said, not this time, David. I don't know what you're talking about. Some of these comments I don't see in context. So, and you guys don't have many questions. So a lot of comments, not a lot of questions. I don't know why the 49ers couldn't live stream the press conferences. My guess would be that the Wi-Fi was really spotty at Estadio Azteca. That's why I wasn't posting much, because I didn't have any reception down on the field. I posted stuff retroactively. So you can always come to the channel and check out the press conferences. I got Shanahan up there. I've got Garoppolo up there. I went into the locker room. I have Christian McCaffrey there. It was a 2-on-1 interview. Jennifer Lee Chan and I talked to Christian McCaffrey. And then I got Alfredo Gutierrez one-on-one after his great return to Mexico. So there's a whole lot of video content for you, and maybe even a few seconds in another video of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, who took the podium together. So hopefully that met all of your content needs after the game in Mexico City. Who's the next up at running back behind Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey? Well, it looks like Jordan Mason got the first look yesterday. Obviously, Ty Davis Price is there. Now, if they need to activate somebody because they have an injury to Mitchell or Christian McCaffrey, remember Tevin Coleman is still on the 49ers practice squad. Can the 49ers be prepared for the game? Well, I hope so. I don't know if there's a typo there. I would think they can be prepared. Will they be prepared? That's the question of this week. Any injuries today? Little Kobe asks. Kyle Shanahan did not speak today because the 49ers will have practice tomorrow with no day off. So no injury updates today. I'll have the injury update for you tomorrow. Michael Nobriga wants me to ask Kyle if he has any thoughts about Danny Gray returning kicks. All right. If I have a chance to, I will ask. Frank Saldivar, is it true that the interior O-line hasn't given up a sack all year? It is true. No sacks given up by Aaron Banks. No sacks given up by Spencer Burford. No sacks given up by Jake Brendel. No sacks given up by Daniel Brunskill. Considering the fact that interior O-line pass protection had been the bane of the 49ers' existence throughout the earlier parts of the Shanahan era, this is remarkable. Remember, all of this quarterback mess started when Quinnen Williams beat Laken Tomlinson and injured Jimmy Garoppolo in week 2 of the 2020 season. Interior pass protection. We over and over again, I've beaten that drum. The center issues that the 49ers have faced over the years, those have derailed the offense. Well, look what happened yesterday. Jake Brendel, who's pass protected well this year, hasn't given up a sack, was out in front of Deebo Samuel, destroying Budda Baker 30-plus yards downfield. It was a banner day for the 49ers interior line, and they continue improving. Aaron Banks just had a baby boy. Congratulations to Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is playing good football. I'm like, this guy, people owe Aaron Banks an apology. Let's put it that way. They didn't give him a chance to develop, and now he's showing everybody that he's a top half player in his first year starting in both run and pass blocking. So that is very, very true what Frank Saldivar just asked. The 49ers interior O-line hasn't given up a sack all year. Randy Daytona tells me to go to sleep. No, I'm not going to sleep. I got to get alive in. Again, those of you just joining, I literally just landed at SFO. You can thank the fact that I have global entry for being able to do this show. I got right through customs. It literally took me 10 seconds. They have this new biometric thing where you just put your face in front of the camera and then it says, hello, welcome, David Lombardi. Not creepy at all. It recognizes you throughout the whole time, but it helps me get through the customs line really quickly. So I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to be following your orders. I'm instead going to be answering questions about the 49ers. David, do you think any regular season games will be a shootout? I would like to see Jimmy in some shootouts in the regular season. Get Jimmy more prepared for the playoffs. Well, the defense has to suck for it to be a shootout. They had a chance against Kansas City, but 49ers just, they were a little too disjointed in that game. You don't want the defense. Trust me, you do not want the defense to be as bad as it was against the Chiefs again. Now, looking forward, you might have your shootout opportunity against the Miami Dolphins in what, 11 days? I don't know how to do math. That's not my specialty. It's coming up in a few days. It's the week after the 49ers play the Saints. The Dolphins have an extremely high-powered offense. I could put this back on the screen for you right here. You talk about potential shootout opportunities. Look where the Dolphins are on this chart. Way over to the right. That offense is not at the Chiefs territory, but over the past few weeks, it actually has been way over here. Defense not great for the Dolphins. I think that means shootout, right? Maybe the Dolphins score a lot against the 49ers and the 49ers score a lot against the below average defense. So to answer your question, it might be coming against Mike McDaniel's squad in Miami or in Santa Clara, but Mike McDaniel's Miami squad. All right. Looking down the line, what positions are you concerned about? Asks Mike. Hey, Mike. Interior defensive line. That's always a big concern for the 49ers. Right tackle, Mike McGlinchey has to pass protect well for this team to maximize its offensive potential. So right tackle, interior defensive line, 49ers need to keep on making progress in both of those areas. Is Geno Smith better than Russell Wilson? Well, we'll find out. I mean, let's not disrespect Russell Wilson that much, right? I mean, Russell Wilson is aging now. I think it's clear. He's obviously not playing as well as he used to, but Russell Wilson did a lot of good things for a lot of seasons for Seattle. Geno Smith could still be in that flash in the pan territory right now. You got to sustain this for a little bit longer before we make that judgment. Arizona's interior lines on both sides were below average. What's the scouting report on the Saints interior linemen? Well, they have David Amenyata on the interior, good defensive tackle, and he's given the 49ers trouble before. So they've got some quality players, the Saints do, on the defensive line. Offensive line, I already talked about at the top of the show. That's the Saints' weakness. I mean, I have a banner for that right here. Saints' weakness, interior O-line pass protection. Maybe this is the week that the 49ers work Armstead, work Kinlaw back into the mix. But as far as, I mean, the Saints, again, overarching look, this is a mediocre defense. You can work around it. They don't have a Chris Jones. They don't have an Aaron Donald, the guy that can really blow the 49ers up on the interior. And guess what? The 49ers, this is not the same old 49ers on the interior. We just got done talking about how that interior line hasn't given up a sack yet all season long. So this offense is the one who knocks, right? They're the ones who dictate things. The 49ers no longer have to sit back and cower in fear of a Chris Jones or an Aaron Donald if their interior offensive line is playing the way that it's playing. So that's kind of the big revelation this year, right? The 49ers have improved in their pass protection, and I think that Jimmy Garoppolo is benefiting a lot from it. I mean, I just did a series of tweets about Jimmy Garoppolo, 1.5% interception rate. That ranks number 7 in the NFL, top half of the league for the first time in his career. Jimmy Garoppolo now is officially delivering better efficiency than he did in 2017. I put this one on Twitter. Let me read this for you. So, the big debate is, was 2017 Jimmy better or 2022 Jimmy better? Well, the numbers right now suggest 2022. Adjusted net yards per attempt, which includes here. Well, I'm going to put this up on the screen for everybody so you could see it. Adjusted net yards per attempt includes interceptions and touchdown passes, right? It factors it all into the formula. So you have an overarching efficiency metric, and now we have it up on the screen. In 2017, Jimmy Garoppolo was at 7.62 adjusted net yards per attempt. After this performance against Arizona, he's now at 7.74 adjusted net yards per attempt in 2022. So this is Jimmy Garoppolo's best season so far in his NFL career. I think that we can officially say that. Now, the question is, will he keep it up moving forward? That is the big, big query for the 49ers as they move through this year. All right, guys. I'm almost at 20 minutes. One more minute. Talk a little bit more. Everybody, why don't you like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff, and I will look at a few more questions. Trey Lance is out for the season. Is somebody talking about him coming back? Yeah, there's a question. Kyle Shanahan has said he's done for the season. I don't think they're going to be trying to rush Trey Lance back, given all that's at stake developmentally. I mean, Trey Lance is not good enough to rush back yet, right? Trey Lance is a developmental project. Jimmy Garoppolo, let's say it slowly. Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Trey Lance. The 49ers did not start Trey Lance this season with the assumption that he was better than Jimmy Garoppolo in week 1. They started Trey Lance in week 1 with the hope that Trey Lance would develop to a higher ceiling than Jimmy Garoppolo, preferably by the end of the season, but it was still a major risk. So in the short term, the 49ers are better with Garoppolo. They're more efficient with Garoppolo. Unfortunately, their long-term plan has been pushed back. It's been severely delayed because Trey Lance fractured his ankle. So even if Trey Lance is somehow healthy and ready to play by the end of the season, you have lost a full season's worth of development, and we're going to be back at square one. Jimmy Garoppolo's improved since week 1 too. We should mention that he's further away from shoulder surgery. So if Trey Lance was not better than Jimmy Garoppolo in week 1, he's not going to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo coming off rust and an ankle surgery in week 17 or the playoffs. That is why the 49ers are shelving the Trey Lance developmental project until 2023. I don't know, how else to put that. There's a lot of, commentary on Twitter. Oh, Trey Lance is to come back. And, you don't get much better than what the 49ers offense is getting right now. They're top 3 efficiency in the league. Their quarterback is number 3 DVOA. So the bigger question right now is, if Garoppolo keeps on playing the way that he's playing, is he back with the 49ers in 2023? And right now that it's trending, it's moving toward that direction. But again, nothing is written. We still have a lot to cross. Everybody wants decisions now. Guess what? 49ers wait. They maintain option power. They can wait until they actually have to make the decision. And that goes along with this question. Any scenario in which they bring back Jimmy Garoppolo next year? Yes. If he continues playing the way that he's playing right now, they're going to bring him back next year. Point blank. If you have an adjusted net yards per attempt near 8, which leads the NFL in most seasons, you keep that quarterback. Because if Garoppolo keeps on doing that and he stays healthy with the defense the 49ers have, that they probably win the Super Bowl. Right? And if they win the Super Bowl, then I think your question is answered. Would I say that the 49ers are better, the Eagles are a better team than the 49ers? That's a close one. It depends on what Ndamukong Suh does for the Eagles, because their run defense is bad. There's a reason the Colts almost beat them. And I know it was Suh's first game, so but we'll see what a 35-year-old Ndamukong Suh can do for the Eagles' run defense. Because as of right now, the Eagles are not as built as the 49ers to win in the month of January. They're bad at short pass defense. They're bad at run defense. Those two things, the 49ers can pick them apart with those two things. So there are only 3 teams in the NFL who have both a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. They are Buffalo, they are the Eagles, and they are the 49ers. Not even the Chiefs are in that category. So I get it. Everybody loves Buffalo because of the way they started this season. The Eagles started hot too. But the Eagles have shown fractures in run defense, which is why they picked up Ndamukong Suh this past week. They beat out the 49ers for him. He chose Philadelphia over San Francisco. Now we'll see if he can be the Band-Aid that Philadelphia needs for a run defense that I don't think matches up well with the 49ers in a potential January game. I really don't think it matches up well. I mean, nobody's going to match up well against the 49ers that we saw Monday night. That's a really, really balanced outfit. All right, everybody, thank you for your questions. Time for me to call it. I have to head back to the airport. Everybody subscribe to the channel. It's down there at the bottom. Subscribe to The Athletic. That was your first look at 49ers-Saints. If you just joined, you can go ahead and replay this. This is how we live. We do a show as soon as we get back from Mexico. This was my first stop from the airport. Now, next stop, probably In-N-Out Burger. So we'll take care. Protein style. Got an audience today. It's funny. All right, everybody, have a good one. Tuesday night, heading into Wednesday.